Hi, teaching statement. My name is Faisal Bachari. I teach business information system in Centennial College. Now, teaching statement is a very interesting subject, and basically is one of the. It could be part of the CVs and a very important, as I believe. But it is as a philosophy of teaching, which is it can come with a mix of really the philosophy of somebody's life. So I personally do believe that the only constant thing in life is change. But also, in the same time, I consider the speed of the change is as important as believing in accepting the change. So not only the constant things in life is change, is the speed of the change. Some things are change faster, and some of them change slower. Now, before we talk about that, I needed to make a few comments about the assignment and the course now. I truly believe that assignment like a BOPPS lesson plan should comes after this teaching assignment, because it is about building a course plan for one class, and it has to go through the teaching statement and the discipline of the course that we are delivering. Now, you would know when I start talking about more further information about my teaching belief and teaching philosophy, you will see how this can affect and about the course that I teach, how really this lesson plan should come after this assignment. So teaching statement is important. Now, why it's so important? Because one of the things is it is part of the application package. Now, when any professor or any instructor wants to apply to a university or college, he has to have these days have to have a teaching statement. Now, so it is important, but also it's important for external environment, that the place that he's applying for, he has to understand what kind of a college or university he's applying for. Now, through my work within 15 years, uh, I came to understand there is two extreme and something in the middle between them. Now, we need to know, first of all, before we do the teaching statement, are we working in institution-based or a student-based college or university environment? In other words, am I working in institution-based or a student-based college? And why this is important? Because you need to have your teaching statement, your teaching philosophy match the institute itself. Now there is I believe, over 1,500 to 2,000 colleges and universities within North America, which is they are more institution based, but the majority worldwide is a student based. Once I know that, then I can provide them, and which is I've done lots of consultancy for the last 15 years. I would understand from there how I'm going to deliver the IT solution for these colleges and universities. And just a brief look, here is an example of an organization which is an institution place. And notice that the students is part of the customer part is not the most important customer. Is depend on who is really the institution gets their income and their survival, or the more they work with. So there is the supplier side. They need to look at it and they integrate with it according to the reasons. And there is the customer side, which could be community, alumni, and student. The supplier side could be government, corporation. So this is what you call an institutional base college or university. On the other hand, you have the student-based environment where you're serving the university or the college and focus on the student itself. So and that's what the majority of colleges and universities that we have in Canada. where the focus is the student, and all these apps, all these services, it revolve. So when you provide a service for a teacher, because the teacher is teaching the student, that's the reason you provide the service for them. If you provide the service for the family and friend, is because they are part of the student. So we look at the students as the core thing, and all its integration with the library, administration, HR. We look at these solutions and we provide them solution just to serve the student better. And this is what you call the student based colleges and university. Luckily, our college is is a student base 100% almost, and they serving the student, and their main focus is the learning environment. So we need to think about it is how I do my job according to my belief and according to the college needs and environment. Now, just to let you know, the background music that I'm playing is kind of a Middle Eastern, part Turkish, part Indian, part Arabic, and we end up with the Western music. It's just to have fun. And the picture behind me is that I took it in the last place that I visited. It is the last place for Persian Empire. Wonderful place. You should go and see it. Now back to this, our teaching environment. So I try to create an environment that learning get active in it, not teaching get active in it, learning get active in it. So here what we try to, I try to, this is a heavy comment that has so many parts in it that we need to, I need to explain to you. But I'm gonna go with the guideline of Chisholm essential components. So I'm gonna look at the concept of learning. What's the concept of teaching? What's the goal of the students there? How they how can I implement my philosophy? And what's the my personal growth plan? Within these, I will explain to you why I have such a teaching statement. Now, in general, higher education, as I see it, is one stage where person comes in from school to higher education, and there is a next stage comes in after the higher education. So our goal is really to prepare him for the next stages. And learning is a life journey. So it is, and the higher education only one part of it. So at this stage, there is a goal that once we create a teaching learning environment, we need to create also a teach himself or teach herself environment where the student, when he comes out of the school, graduated or something, he is able to teach himself. Since once again, I believe that this change, it's happening, and the speed of change in the course that I teach, which is in management information system, is very fast. So the student needs to be a teach, he's supposed to teach himself the information. So we get him to, when he graduates in my course, he should be able to teach himself and cope with the speed of the changes in the field of IT. Now, so we threw a few words here, learning. So what's learning for me, and what is teaching for me, it means. And the question is, how can I get the student ready for the next stage, which is very important. And so let's start with teaching versus learning. Let's distinguish between both of them and how I distinguish them. What I see, this is a quote that I like so much, and I think it's very funny, but it's deliver a very good sense. It says, I taught my dog to whistle, but I don't hear him whistle. Well, I said that I taught him. I didn't say he learned. So the thing is that sometimes when we stand there, I think we deliver, we try to teach, but that doesn't mean the other side are learning something. And this is what the biggest challenge, that I want them to learn things, not I want to teach them. They need to learn it from me. Now, so first of all, to do that, to move them to that stage, we need to, I usually use different tools like polls, surveys, questionnaires, trying to get their CV, trying to understand, you know, issues like who are they? Who's the students that I have in a class? Especially I do it in the beginning of the semester. How do they want to learn? Now there is a learning environment, but how do they want to learn? There is so many types of learning there. And why they are in my class. If I don't know what they are, why they are in my class, then I probably will fail to teach them, and they will fail to learn from me. Are they taking a course for graduation? Are they there to get more information? Are they a professional who joining back? So all these important for me. So I want them to know. I wanted to know why they are in my class, and I need to know the demographic, their background. Their background, when I say, it doesn't only to be the ethnic, the way they think, the way they work, their history, whether they had working experience or were non-working. They are different people when it comes somebody who has a work experience, who worked in the field of IT versus somebody who did not work. They would look at it as an outsider. So these are very important issues that I can discover in the beginning a few classes through tools like launching the polls, getting their CVs, talking to them. And furthermore, issues that gets deeper is when I said that, how do they want to learn? There is some students in the class, they are active, and you have some students that are reflective. So these students usually in a class, you feel that they say, well, wait a second, let me think about this before we move on. So being only an active and putting questionnaires and running, answers and all these things, there's some students have a reflective, they need to think about it. Now, most of my course in the field of MIS, it is get a feeling of some reflective, because you have so many application, so heavy duty application with so many functionality and points in it, that any CIO or CTO needs to think about before make a decision. But there's nonetheless an active versus reflective. There is people in my class who have they are reflective learner, and some of them are active learner. So I need to consider this. I need to consider also whether they are visual or verbal. So that makes a big difference how they want to learn. So also, are they global or sequential? Students who comes in from the IT background or mechanic background or all these things, they are mostly a sequential student. But the ones who comes from the business background, from the art background, they're mostly kind of a global. Let's see the whole picture, and then we break it down to the smaller picture. On the sequential, let's see the smaller picture, put them together, and then we get the global. So the learning itself, the learning environment can differ from one to another. Now, plus there is other types of learners, but these are the major ones. And furthermore, is the course that I'm teaching, like the Management Information System or BIS, what's the weight in it? What part of it is really requires MIS requires that I should approach, for example, visual versus verbal, or active versus reflective. It is the course made of a mixed products. It is like a management, IT, and you put it together and become a management information system. So this is also things that will affect the learning environment that the course that I'm teaching in it. Now, all about are a good reason to have a universal design learning approach where you create many types, whereas students comes in and start picking the right way of learning for them, and they kind of focus on that, and from there we can tell whether what kind of a learner they are. Now, so as you see, is a kind of a complicated to just think about, let's create an environment learner there. How are we going to environment that within the learners, there's different type of learners that we need to consider. The way the whole teaching state, the whole way teaching, I look at it is like learning. When you create a learning is like a serving a pie. Now, what do I mean here? When you're serving pie, once you want to, sometimes you want to push it on the throat of the people, and sometimes you give them some taste of it and let them ask for it, they pull for it. So if the pie is delicious, if they taste the learning and they find it interesting, then the student will come and ask for more. This is how I do it. I start with giving them some taste of the MIS because most of my students don't distinguish that there is a whole line of an ERP solution, an enterprise solutions that differs from what they are using as a personal solution, which is, Microsoft. And the only, when you ask them, they probably will get confused when you tell them, name a 2 or 3 a tier one solution like SAP, Oracle, some part of this solution, IBM. They will be confused, but they might be, very good in understanding what Microsoft can do, but they don't understand what Microsoft, the enterprise level, can do for them. So it's really I let them try the pie at the beginning. Test, give them some taste where they will find it. If it's interesting, they will grab more for it. And if they find that they are less interested, so I adjust the way and present my pie for in the next class. Make it try to make it interesting where the student will pull things, take things. And this is what I call a learning in my environment. Now, let me give you an example. When I start with the students, and the basics I want to explain that, I just want to, I know for sure all the students use a higher education solution. Now, in my first class, very quickly, I go over the common point that everybody, whether he has an IT background, whether he has a business background, whether he has a technical background, or he has a art background, I go with something that everybody's common for it, everybody using it. So here where they start looking at, say, okay, so the academic solution that we have, it works that way, the administrative, we have something in e-learning, we have something in a content management system. They start distinguishing different points. And here where I put them all in kind of one level, trying to taste what's MIS all about. Once I made them taste it, so then they will pull more from me. And I start asking, because I'm taking them in the beginning in a territory that they understand well, not to throw them in a deeper water, just start them to 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 go in the territories that they are daily using it, but they're not distinguishing between all these solutions that they are daily using it. So what's the benefit in that for me? I think the biggest thing is I love to stay updated in IT field. And when I'm keeping these students in the learning environment, students will start asking me more questions, wants to more explore these points, wants to know how things is working. And that will keep me, whether I know or not, it's gonna keep me learning more, staying updated with that. What's my long term as a person that I do believe that I need to always contribute to the society, whether I'm young, I'm growing old, contribution to the society is there for all the ages and everybody should be there. So the challenge is that I really, as a teacher, I face is the fact, this is how I see it, is that I can take a horse to a lake or to place on a water, but I cannot make him drink water. So me is really to make sure this horse, this student, is really knows what's the benefit of the water. So you make him thirsty for the more information. You inform him more about the details of the everyday that he's dealing with and what's there when he goes in the market, what they're looking for, what makes it important for them. So what is a teacher? Now we're focusing now moving from learner to a teacher. Now I believe, and this is what I do, I see myself as a butterfly flying from uh, one flower to another or a group from one group to another in order to connect them with each other. And why I need to connect these students with each other in order to generate a fruitful student for the society. So they are kind of connecting between each other as students and also connecting with the real life. So when they come there, they're very much ready to be a fruitful students to the society. So keep in mind when they're graduating, they're not student anymore. So here where they start producing and they don't go through a gap between what they learn in the college and what they learn in the and supposed to learn in a really life. So this gap as a teacher, I do it as when the meeting is happening, when this class is doing active, when they're doing, I like a butterfly going from one to another, trying to really um, uh, connect them to each other, helping each other. That's an excellent way of learning. And although they will be generating fruit, they become a fruitful student for the society. So this is what I see as myself as a teacher. Now, so what is the next stage and how can I get the students ready? Now, we spoke about what's the learning environment and how the learner type of learners there, how I believe a teacher should be there. Now, I need to see how I'm gonna move them to the next stage. The next stage, which is I said, is the next stage is to teach students how to teach themselves and teach each other. So here where I put them in kind of going start to exploring different application, different way of looking at the application, and also keeping them in a group work. And I usually put them in a group, and this group stays with each other for the whole semester. And it's important because they will develop some kind of a relationship between each other, and it's important so they start teaching themselves. Now, I know in one group, not everybody is equal. Some of them are good in research, some are not good in presentation, some of them are good in writing, and then in this is where I make sure that clear utilize each other strength, and then this group is going to be in a highest level possible if they're utilizing each other's strength, and that's what they get them ready for the outside, because outside is a kind of mostly is a group work. It's not individual work. So it is that where I put them in that stage. So the next stage is to teach students how to teach themselves and each other in this stage where the student is getting ready to fly. That's when you get their graduation, they are ready to go to start working, because they will understand what's a group work. They will understand what's a community. They will understand that the information that they have is not perfect and they can collect it, and they will utilize each other's strength in the environment. So these things, how it's done in a more detail. So as I said, we utilize a group work. And because there is a different way of learners, different type of learners, it is essential to create universal design learning, where some are reflective, some of them active. You create all as much as you can types of learning, utilizing different techniques in the environment. Like probably one of the things is doing demos, presentation to them, then asking them a question, for them being active, put them on the polls, do some surveys, probably post the courses on kind of online for them to look at it. To some of them would like to come back. So help let them to be there, have their mind with you, not all these mind together. They're not worried about taking notes. They're not worried about mm, taking missing some notes or something like that. So they are there just to learn. They want to learn, and that stage where we can put them when they start thinking their mind with you 100%, they start doing critical thinking. And I have some students who's there who's usually saying, okay, sir, you cannot do this. It's impossible. And I love that. And then I say, well, wait another half an hour and let's see how these things is going to develop the way I think. And let's see how things can be developed the way you think. So it's just a critical thinking in a way. And then we start thinking about, okay, we have this application, how we can utilize it in other ways. So this is what you call out of box thinking. And they can bring some samples. I can show them some samples and going through the mobile application. But the critical thinking is the most important thing. And how this critical thinking starts is when you have the student in a 100% learning environment and you have his brain working, looking at you, his brain looking at you, not his eyes. So you create the intellectual curiosities, and then we start talking about the ethical part of this business. Who is being, what's the application? Why this company who owns this application stop buying this application? What's the side effect of it? So when they go to the world of software selection and software implementation, they start thinking of the not everything is a black and white, and they should be aware of the fact that it might be some company buys another some company, and these companies will be scratched out. Like what the best example I can bring to them is when the banner bought other companies and they scratched them and they moved in and made the other university to utilize their application whether they want or not, because there is no support of that application. So the ethical part of the business is very important in the management information system. And then it's the motivation. The motivation, there is always when somebody asking me a question or raise a question or ask his colleague, is always I'm gonna, it's it's like a music to my ears. Make everybody knows that it there is something positive in being a critical thinker, being somebody who asks questions, being somebody who discuss information, and not to be quiet. The only and the most important I do is I tell them there is no wrong answer. So ask as much as you can, and you give them right away a feedback of how to do that. And then we come in the issues of technology tools, and these are tools that you utilize them for to deliver the goal of learning, which is I'm going to speak about them on a more details about them on the next slide. But these are the tools that you don't use them as a goal. They are the means to deliver. So today, if I need a Padlet to do that, well, that's fine. If I'm needing Facebook to do that, that's fine. If I'm needing different application like tech, it's fine. So these are tools that they help us to do that. And I try, especially in the beginning of the class, is to create a connections between whatever I teach, or whatever they learn to outside world, and promote the course that I'm teaching. in how I promote it is through a real life connections, bringing a real life cases out of the box where the students have tried it, tested, and saw the real effect of it. So the connection with the real world is a very important, and it's one of the way of doing the marketing. So here's the technology tools that I use. One of the tools that I put, and it is probably started with me, is something called Tech Advisor. And the Tech Advisor, which is technology evaluation application, is basically, um, I put them in a group, and they're supposed to be by end of the class SME, subject matter expert. So when they become a SME, they need tools to support them. So Tech Advisor is an application, which is I will explain, show you. It is to it imply all the information that they are learning from me, from the book, from the videos, from the outside to this application. They put them together, and then they help this application help them to organize all these information and start evaluating different application versus each other. So I have a tier one application and I have 10 of them, and I cannot really evaluate them because there's so many functionality in them. I need a way to organize them. And the organization is done through an application like a Tech Advisor, which is everybody's students, every group will have an account and they utilize it. So they go to any department like HR or a department of financial and start asking questions within the IT, within the functionalities, and evaluating that application versus the other application. And from here, also they can do building RFP, requests for information and requests for a proposal. So here's what I'm connect them to the real world where everybody utilize that. Other applications that on a daily basis uses that I do use, it's this application like Garmin, which is kind of a Facebook application but for education. When these all the class together, they're gonna stay together. They start writing to each other. They start communicating with each other and communicating with me. So I'm creating kind of a site for them where all the students can come in, get all the announcement. They make all the announcement, personal announcement, personal work. They can do that. Nothing officially. It's a friendly based site, and it's built by Microsoft, by the way. And here's what I can use Padlet is just raise their critical thinking, out of the box thinking. We put a picture there, let them comment, others comments on it, and they start sharing information on that. An application like a content management system or CMS, where I have the chatting, postings on it, but pools and rooms is breakout rooms is has to be always maybe in the beginning of the class, in the middle of class should be used just to see the direction, just to see create this environment, friendly learning environment wherein they can chat with each other, or once I need to know where the direction that is going on so I can adjust all my teaching in it. So the most important, what I feel like when I tell my students, sometimes there is no wrong or right answer. There is no wrong or right answer. There is a wrong or a right way. So that's a very important in the management information system to understand there is no right or wrong answer. There is a wrong or right way. And here is where I emphasize a lot on process and procedures and all these things within how to implement and do project management and all these things. Let me give you an example where I meant there is no of this comment that I use. Sometimes there is no wrong or right answer. There is wrong or right way. Now, if you look here, this is done by Gartner, and this is how they do evaluate. I'm not going to go through the details of it, but they doing it evaluation differently. On other hand, if you look at that, and you would see there's different way of doing evaluation by tech. And They both have, um, uh, you know, uh, different way of doing it, but they both probably will get to the right answer. So as long as you're doing it in the right way, you have a big chance of you be succeeding in it. So here's where I'm trying to let the student know how to do, to be organized, how to approach to this information, how to update themselves on it. Now, one more thing, when I said I'm using the tech advisor, it means I'm putting them in a 2 months or a 3 months project as a group. And they need to kind of create a project plan, how they're going to go and talk to the sorry, the management of HR department or the financial department outside or inside the organ, and how they're going to collect the information and put them in an organized way. And the tech advisor is the one who usually organizes this information. And in the result, this will, they will can put all these apps, once they enter this information, they go, aha, voila, this is how it looks like. And they feel that they are, they became a subject matter expert in softwares, in services, in IT, because now they can say, well, for this organization, this product, number one, this is second, two, three, four. For that organization, the current product might be the most effective one, and they don't need to replace that. So that's where the student becomes saying, opening their eyes and says, well, that makes sense for us. This is how we supposed to approach. There should be a means, a ways of working, a standard way. And if we do it in the right way, we probably going to get to the right answer. And put it this way, most of lots of IT people, they don't approach for selecting a software, or implementing or evaluating, or they don't look at it this way. They just go with their feeling and market research and go to the next person that they select. So here what I'm putting everything in a result where they can evaluate, for example, the IT part, the hardware, the connection, the internet, the capacity, the database, the software, the end user application, and all comes in so clear. And this is where the student comes in and says, voila, I love this course. And this is after math, when they go out, they can sit there, face, any IT person and says, this is how we done it. And they don't need to talk about the tech advisor. They say, this is how we done it. And this is the companies that we did the research and supported them. So in the end, as I said, it's my job as a teacher is to create the environment for learning where the learning takes off. And as a learner, I need to know my students as a learner, what type of learner they are. And one of the most major important thing is a teamwork, a group work for them. I hope you like my presentation and you have a good day. Bye-bye.